Hey, I'm John. Welcome to Mr. G's Workbench. If you're joining me in chronological order, you know the last episode I did was the first part of the Meng Sherman diorama with the kit called Victory Kiss. Rest assured that build is ongoing. Like I said at the end of that video, I'm in the process of assembling the tank tracks. They're individual link tracks. There's like 4 pieces to every link. I'm trying to do like at least 20 a day, and that it's just tedious work. It takes like an hour, and I don't want to burn out on the project. So rest assured, part 2 of that is coming up, where we'll finish building the Sherman. Today, however, we're going to start another project. This was the kit that tied with the Sherman for my next project, and I said I would do it as well. And that was Kitty Hawk's F-5E Tiger kit. I really like the F-5. It's a very cool plane. It's 32nd scale. Before anyone starts accusing me of just building Kitty Hawk airplanes, number one, this one came out of my pocket. And like I said, I really like the F-5. So I really wanted to do this. When the kit came out, I bought it. What I liked even better about it was I'm into all things Austrian. And the Austrian Air Force had leased a bunch of F-5s from Switzerland. I think that was in the late 90s. And in pursuit of that, I got these decals from a company called Matterhorn Decals. And I believe they're located in Switzerland. And one of the decal options in that set is the Austrian leased jets. So we're going to bang on this one, I think. In spite of it being a Kitty Hawk kit, I think if we just kind of like use the usual cautions that are associated with this company, I think we should be able to come up with a really nice build. I'm going to link to a guy named Chuck on large scale planes. He did a build of an Kitty Hawk F-5. He did it as a naval aggressor, and his came out like awesome. So I'll link to that. And let me show you what's already done on this. There's a couple of things I had already started on here. So let me show you what's going on with it, and we'll get started. So the first thing I have here is I got gun barrels and pitot tubes from Master. I like their work, and when I saw they had a set for this plane, I got it. I got resin wheels from True Details. I know they're not, there's a set made by somebody else. Their name escapes me at the moment. They're supposed to be nice as well. These are the ones I got because they were easy to get. Got paint masks, and then the only photo etch I got aftermarket was this basic set from, it's the Zoom set from Eduard. It's just the instrument panels and a couple of details for the cockpit. So I've got that. Then I've got these Eduard resin Sidewinder missiles. They may not be the right type for the F-5E that the Swiss flew, but you know what? That's what I got. So I'm not a stickler for hyper accuracy. If you are, I'm sorry. As far as what's been started, those are the only 2 pieces of the fuselage I've cut out. I also did, this is as far as I got with the cockpit. I'll show you a close-up couple of photos of it here. We've got that. The seat is assembled, needs a little bit of touch-up before I move on, and then I can install the belts. Kitty Hawk also gives you these resin exhausts. I'll show you them close up. I'm kind of on the fence about using them. They're not terrific. What is nice, though, is the standing pilot. They give you a standing pilot as well as a seated pilot. The seated pilot's already been transferred to my Greek T2, so he's sitting in a box waiting to get installed in the cockpit of that plane. And then I've got the Matterhorn decals that I mentioned earlier. There's the Austrian ones with the white triangles. The Swiss ones are there as well. That's where I'm headed with that. I'm 90% sure I'm doing the Austrian one. This one has popped up into my field of view. It's a Swiss test aircraft. It was aircraft number 3001. It's got this day glow orange on it. I'm seriously considering it, but like I said, I'm 90% sure I'm just going to do the Austrian one. The only thing that this kit doesn't have that I can't find online are FOD covers. Kitty Hawk doesn't give you any intake trunking or anything to fill in the inside of the intakes. So I'm gonna have to do something. I can either buy aftermarket intakes for like 35 bucks, or I can just build a couple of FOD covers out of plastic. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. So we're gonna continue on with the cockpit, and I think we'll be following the instructions for the moment. So let's take a look at what we got. So here we are in the opening steps of the cockpit assembly. A couple of things to point out here. This is a known issue. The right-hand console on the cockpit it's the wrong way around. So if you want to do this accurately, you should be trimming off that right-hand console, flipping it around, and then reinstalling it. What I'm going to do is hopefully I can just replicate that with the Eduard photo etch properly. These three pieces of seat cushion here, F-15 doesn't belong stacked on top of F-14 here. That's actually the seat cushion that's supposed to be resting on top of F-30. When we get to installing these cushions, we'll take another look at that, figure out if we're going to use that cushion. I'm heavily relying on a walkaround that's linked in the description for this video. There's a guy that took a complete set of walkaround photos. I'll show you on my iPad. Toniosky's or Toniosky, however you pronounce that, apologies. Again, the link will be in the description, but he's got a full set of pictures here, and it's obvious he's a model builder because they're really well thought out photos. So what I plan on doing is everything that's going to be the seat color, which is gray. I'll tell you specifically which gray as soon as I figure it out. I'm going to finish putting those parts on here. Like I told you earlier, the cockpit is almost completely assembled with the exception of the side consoles that'll get added on after paint. You can see there's some hoses to be added on. Again, they're not the cockpit gray color, so we're going to hold off on that. So we're almost ready to paint the cockpit. One of the things I'm going to do before I paint is I'm going to go ahead to here in step 4. There's some side consoles to be added inside the cockpit. I'll do that before I do the cockpit painting because I want to do that all in one shot. Then we'll go back. I have to do the gun bays and the nose gear bay. All right, Mrs. G is downstairs cleaning up after Mr. G, so I just wanted to show you this really quick. I'm in the process of painting and finishing the ejection seat. So I painted the seat back aluminum, then I sprayed a layer of hairspray over that, and then I painted the seat with the same medium blue I used for the cockpit. These ejection seats, the back of the seat tends to get worn, so after you do what I just described, you take a paintbrush, wet it with some ordinary water. This just happens to be the brush that works well for me. It's got like kind of a flat head. You just kind of work that water in. Start scrubbing it a little bit. And then what you'll see is we got a Q-tip, clean some of this off, and that's what you get. You get that nice worn effect right there. Pressing on with the build, we've got the cockpit assembled. I'll show you that a little closer in a couple of minutes. I've got one gun bay assembled. I want to apply a light wash to everything. So what I've done is in here I've put some odorless mineral spirits that I bought at my local craft store, and because I'm cheap I use I bought inexpensive oil paints. So I've applied a dollop of black oil paint to this cardboard so that some of the oils will begin to wick off, and I'm gonna take a little bit and I'm gonna swirl it in until I get like a decent dark wash, not a whole bunch, and I'm just gonna mix that in. So I'm not going to go crazy with this. All right, so let's start here. That's where I'm at. Where I've managed to be a little ham-fisted over here, I've just come out with a Q-tip and wipe that down. So that's where we're headed with that. I'm gonna leave it like that because it's just where I want it to be. Here's the cockpit. It's hard to see here, so what I'll do is I'll show you a couple of pictures here so you can see it. And then I hit the insides of the cockpit with that same wash. There's one, there's two. Let me catch you up on this. I've now gone back and filled, sanded, re-scribed, and re-riveted everything I plan on doing on this forward section of the F5. You can still see here, looks like a dimple, but I've sanded it, filled it and sanded it. The problems begin when you try to close these doors. Learn from my mistake, glue the two doors together, treat them as a unit, and then sand and fit to get them to fit that empty space where the gun bay is. The other thing was I used master barrels. I thought I was being clever, and I used some blanketing solution like you would use for model tank tracks, and all it did was eventually come off and left the barrels looking kind of copper. So at the end I'll go back and I'll repaint them gunmetal. I've installed the instrument panel shroud. It's all kind of bleachy looking right now because I wanted to get it installed, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to respray it NATO black just to kind of make it like a lighter black. So I'm going to do that. The feed ramp for the ammo, I had initially glued it in, but after messing around a little bit with this assembly, it was going to come off, so I removed it. Everything else fits reasonably well. I did an epoxy spot up here underneath to get the two flimsy pieces to close together enough to install this centerpiece. So that's all done. Now the one thing I wanted to show you here, and this isn't my solution, I got this from Chuck on Large Scale Planes. These gun vents, which are numbered E52 and E53, they come molded to show them open, and they're only open when they're firing. So Chuck had a good solution. Let me show you. So here's the gun vent in its open position. All you do, take a pair of clippers, trim those side pieces off, front and back. Now you're left with that. Bend it back flat, sand the corners. You're going to sand a slight bit off of the front and back, and it will fit just fine. So there's the other one installed. It takes 2 minutes, and it's going to make it look more appropriate for how it's going to look parked on the ground. So tip from Chuck. Thank you, Chuck. Hope you see this. So I'm going to end this first part of the build with the nose and the cockpit finished. If you plan on closing all the gun bay doors, take your time and carefully fit each door into place. You're going to have to sand and fit until you get them in right. I had nothing but trouble getting the two doors closed that I put in. If you do put them in closed, don't forget you have to trim the latches down on the outside of the gun bay because they're molded to look like they're unlatched. If you want to install the nose gear later and avoid having to install it right at the beginning, which is where Kitty Hawk wants you to do it, there's a way that you can install a pin, or I used a square piece of styrene stock, 1.5 millimeters by 1.5 millimeters, and that fits. It's just big enough to fit into the slot in the gear bay walls that's meant for the tabs for gear part C20. then just cut a notch into gear leg C20, and then you can install it at the end. That's what I did. That's based on a suggestion in Chuck's build on large scale planes. The link to that build is in the description here. I rely on it for a lot of the small details at the beginning. He did some things differently that I'm just not going to dive into that deep. The other thing I'm going to suggest is there's a set of very small navigation lights that get installed behind the open canopy. They're parts GP6. I suggest don't install them right now. Install them after paint, because number one, even in the Eduard mask set, they didn't give you masks for it. It's actually a very disappointing mask set. They're so small, they're either gonna get lost or you're gonna lose them trying to mask them. So easier to just leave them off until the end of the build after you paint. As I mentioned before, make sure, like it's like every other Kitty Hawk kit, dry fit, dry fit, dry fit, sand, sand, and fit, sand and fit. And then once you get it sanded and fitted, then you get to sand and rescribe. So that's all I've been doing with this nose assembly. It's just sucking the mojo out of the build for me. I'm fairly pleased with the results. Here's some pictures of some close-ups of it. If you're going to do it, good luck. Hopefully in the next part of the build, hopefully the other half of the jet will be a little bit more user-friendly in terms of the build. So let's see how that goes. As far as the channel goes, we're up to 244 subscribers. Thank you all very much for your support. Thank you to those of you giving me feedback and input. I really appreciate it. On that note, if you're not subscribed, why not? Just hit the little subscribe thing and ring the bell. Because according to the statistics, 70% of the people watching these videos aren't subscribers. And I can't see why not, you know. Everyone who comments, I really appreciate it. I think I answer every comment given. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give me a thumbs down. But as I always say, just give me a reason why in the comments. Let me know what you don't like about the video. Also, check out my Instagram. That's my Instagram handle right there. Take a look at it. I try to post pictures of whatever build is ongoing. You can also contact me by email, mrgsworkbench@gmail.com. And if you're inclined to Facebook, I started a Facebook page. I'm still trying to work out some of the details. I thought everybody would be able to post on it, and apparently not. I've had a couple of people tell me they can't. So if you go to Facebook, just search for Mr. G's Workbench, and the page will come up. There's some pictures there. I'm trying to make it like in a place that we can be interactive. So take a look at it, and if you have any suggestions, you can either leave them there, you can email them to me, you can leave them on Instagram. All right? So next time we get together, we'll be working on the back half of the jet, and hopefully better days ahead with it. All right? So thanks again for stopping in, and I'll see you next time.